Okay, so we are going to be making chimichanga mix today. The reason that I like to do chimichanga mix in a big batch like this is it's a really great way to use up a cheap meat when it comes on sale where you can buy a lot of it. So I normally do this with turkey, and since it is the end of October and turkey is going to be on sale soon, so it's a good time to start picking out some of the other ingredients as you have coupons for them or you see a good deal, so that overall this can be a really cheap dinner. The chimichanga mix that I'm going to make today is with beef instead of turkey, just that's what I found the best deal on. And this will make dinners for about 5 or 6 dinners for a family of 5, and then you can freeze it. In fact, this batch that we're making is a little bit bigger, so you might even be able to get 7 or 8 dinners out of it. So what I'm starting with here is 6 chopped up and sauteed onions. And so they've been sauteed for quite a while. They're nice and soft. This is all the time-consuming work, so it's going to go really fast today. But I have my onions nice and soft and juicy. And I'm going to add to that just a few tablespoons of white flour. I'll add probably about 4 tablespoons. And this is going to make a nice base so that when we add all the juices later, we'll have a nice thick chimichanga mix, because you're going to put this in tortilla shells and you don't want it too wet. So add just enough flour that you've got your onions nicely coated, and that'll be your thickener. You can add more onions if you like. I usually do about half onions and half meat, and that's a pretty good ratio. So the roast that I started with is about a 10-pound roast, and then I took out some fat and a bone. So we've got 6 onions to probably about 7 pounds of meat. That ratio doesn't have to be perfect, but just about half and half is what you're looking for. So now we've got that started to thicken up a little bit. I'm going to add in my beef. And what I did, I cooked it last night in a slow cooker. Just cook it on low heat for as long as you possibly can. It makes it really easy. And then stick it in the fridge overnight. The nice thing about cooling it that way is then all of your fat, this is what I pulled off of it first thing, I can just scoop my fat right off and pull out the bone, and then the rest I just shredded with my fingers. Save the rest of your drippings, because that's going to be a lot of the flavor in your final chimichanga mix. So this has been all shredded up, and I'm going to add this to my onions. Once you've got this mixed together, you'll start adding your seasonings, and you just need it on low heat at this point. You don't really need to bring it to a boil or anything yet. And to season it, I have 2 teaspoons of cumin and about 2.5–3 tablespoons of salt, which is adjustable, and a teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm just going to add that all at once right here. And the cumin is the main flavor in this dish, so you don't want to skip out on the cumin. If it doesn't have quite enough flavor in the end, that's what you'll want to add more of, is the cumin, before you add any more salt or garlic. Just try to distribute that. And then one of the other things that you will find that you'll want to find ahead of time, and just get it when it's on sale, is the salsa and green chilies. I'm using a large can of green chilies. This is a 7-ounce can. So if you're doing a smaller batch, you can use one of the small ones. And you just add that in and mix it up. Go ahead and run upstairs to get one, sweetie. And then I'm going to add, if you're doing the small jars of salsa, you probably want about 4 jars of salsa. I'm going to use about half of this big one. It's 4 pounds, so this is another one of the main ingredients. You want to make sure you get it on sale so that this is still a cost-effective dinner. And that ends up being most of your juices too. So get that stirred together. And then at this point, you want it to be nice and moist. You want it a little juicy, but you don't want it to be runny. If it is, if you have too much moisture in there, you're just going to boil it down until it thickens up a little bit, because you've got the flour in, so eventually it will thicken. You just give it a few minutes. The last thing you want to make sure you put in is all of your drippings, and that's going to give it a really good meaty flavor. So I've already picked all my fat out of this, and you can just dump it right in. We normally do this with the turkey, like I said, but you can use any meat that is on sale. You know, I like to use the meats that are under $1 a pound. And at Thanksgiving, I think we figured this out one year, when you can get your turkey for under 30 or 40 cents a pound, it ends up being like $1 for this meal, for as many meals as it makes when you split it all up. So it's a really cheap way to use up turkey when it's on sale. So this is our finished chimichanga mix. What I'm going to do now is just leave it on the stove at a really, really low simmer. And I'll let it simmer for about 30 minutes, and just to get the flavors well mixed together. Then when you're done, you can take, that's the final product. So when you're done, freeze it in about 3 or 4 cup portions in the freezer. They'll keep in the freezer for about 6 months, so it's nice longevity. And you can use about 1/2 cup per tortilla shell. Just roll it up and fry it in a little bit of oil, and it makes a really nice crunchy chimichanga. Another easy dinner is to just pour it right over the top of rice. So it'll take you about an hour or two the first, when you put it all together with the chopping and the deboning of the meat. But it'll save you a lot of time later, and it's a really great dinner that's very cost effective. So, all right, if you have any other, if you want to leave me any questions or anything, you can visit our blog, utahsweetsavings.com, and there's also more money saving ideas on there. So, thanks.